Good morning and welcome to Exploring Hyperspace Lanes. I am Adam. Very rainy Friday. I was going to do this yesterday, but I forgot. There was a reason why I didn't yesterday. What happened yesterday morning? Oh, I had a doctor's appointment yesterday morning, which threw off my entire day. Usually I just record these on my way to work. And then Thursday I had a doctor's appointment. So we didn't do it yesterday. Point is, we're doing it today now. And what we're here to talk about today is Andor. We are going to do Tales of the Underworld. I have not watched it yet, partially because I keep forgetting it came out. I think it kind of got eclipsed entirely by Andor this week in terms of notoriety. Because these 3 episodes tell Andor has been so far above and beyond anything else produced by Disney Plus in general. And these 3 episodes, I think, are up there with the what was it, Narcana 5 arc last year, or 3 years ago at this point, or last season when he was in the prison building the parts of the Death Star. And there are a few things that is a great bumper sticker this person in front of me has. It's Manny from what's it called? It's Manny from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which is he's saying Black Lives Matter. It's the issue that. Not an issue. The thing that I really like about that, well, I mean, it is kind of an issue, because last week I did think something was going to happen, and then they immediately fucked it up this week in the second episode of the batch of 3. But what I was, last week I said that, okay, so we know that he's going to find out at some point, and he's going to piece together, Cyril, that the Empire is, the Empire is up to something on Gorman that's not just this, what's going on. What they're claiming is going on, just a regular occupation. He's going to find out that more is happening, and he does find out. He finds out mining ships are arriving, and I was like, well, if that's the case, why are they doing that? What do they need mining ships for here? And he confronts Deidre about it. And is like, what is going on? And they're mining, and she tells him. So he leaves. And I gotta say, I love his confrontation with Cassian. I love the way they do that, because you have to put into perspective exactly what has gone on in Cyril's life up until this point over the course of this show. Where he's looking at the guy who cost him his career. Because that's what happened, was it's he was investigating because he found out that Cassian killed this guy. He wanted to go and try and make a name for himself by catching him. It didn't work. He ended up losing his job. He ended up working on this shitty Imperial thing, and then he continued hunting him. And it led to this point where he eventually found Deidre, and the two of them built this life together. And then Deidre, it turns out, was lying to him too, and then that gets taken away. And then he gets down to the planet, and then he sees him, and he just goes right the fuck in and attacks him. And it is this great scrappy fight in the middle of all this shit going on Gorman, with this massacre that's happening. The Imperials are just murdering everyone. As this fight, it reminds me of in the lead up to in the lead up to Secret Wars 2, which I think it was Civil War 2 led directly into it, but it's just the world is ending, and Captain America and Iron Man are just fucking fighting. Fist fighting, and it's the world's ending all around them. The incursion is happening, but these two are just you're not gonna die from that fucking the universe ending. I'm gonna kill you first. That kind of thing. I was like, that's just great. So this fight is just fantastic. And then for Cassian to say to him, "Who are you?" Because it puts them. It takes these two characters and puts them in such different places. Because he's gone through so much. They've both gone through so much, but fundamentally, Cassian is still the center of everything that's happened to Cyril. And for him to just be like, who are you? You're just another person to me. You're no one. That whole thing is just fantastic. And then for Cyril to die so unceremoniously is just, it's perfect. It's this guy who has given everything to the Imperial cause. And has given everything to, to doing the right thing. Now, I'm going to amend my prediction from last week. Because here's the thing. Deidre reacted. I mean, and let's look at what Cyril did in this episode, because Cyril's not a great guy. I don't think anyone's going to make or go to bat for Cyril or anything like that. I don't think he's going to have many character witnesses, because Cyril does attack Deidre in a way that's like, oh, that's very uncomfortable to watch. When he literally grabs her and starts choking her, and I was like, that is not good. Like, that is uncomfortable for a plethora of reasons. But as he's doing that, like, she has this moment after where it's like, he dies, and she has this moment of like, I can't believe it. Now, I don't know if it's just that he died, or if it's also, look at everyone else that's dead because of you. And I think fundamentally we're going to start seeing the cracks in this. And then the other thing that happens in this episode, that we're going to get back to the prediction in a minute, but at the end of the second episode, at the end of the third episode, we get another thing. We'll get to Mon Mothma too, don't worry. She has a fantastic moment in the third episode. But when we get to the third episode, at the very end, we see, we have Cassian talking to Bix on Yavin about, hey, we're going to leave because I don't want to keep putting you through this. I don't want to force you through this. And there's this beautiful, heartbreaking moment that happens where we don't see Bix. She leaves him a video, message saying, I'm leaving. You are going to stay here. You need this. You need to fight the Empire. You need this for you. I can't be the reason that you don't do this. So I'm going to leave. When this is all over, we'll get back together, which is heartbreaking because, number one, we know what happens to Cassian because we're about a year away from his death. Because next week is going to be presumably the lead in directly to Rogue One, and I feel like what this is going to be is the story of how the Death Star plan, how the Rebellion found out about the Death Star plans in the first place. And I think what this is, we have this grand battle happening. And it's not just this grand battle for control of the galaxy. It's this battle over, a fascist regime. And what we focused on in the second and third episode this week are very human moments. And one of the things about Star Wars, and people shat on this a lot in Last Jedi, was one of the things that Rose said. We don't win by destroying what we hate, but by saving what we love, or something like that's the quote. And people shat on that. But I think fundamentally that's kind of what needs to, what the fuck, you gotta destroy shit too, ha 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 ha. But no, it's like, there is a level of accuracy to that, where it's like, we have to prove we're not them. Because in order to be that, you need to depersonalize to a point that you don't view the other people as human, or in the case of Star Wars, because there are so many aliens, sentient beings. Like, you need to dehumanize everyone. I mean, it's very human-centric. Whatever. We get what I'm saying. So, to that end, I think the death of Cyril is going to lead to Deidre being the one to give the information about the Death Star plans to the Rebellion. I think what's got to happen is, I think it's going to be both. It's going to be both that, her being privy to the massacre of the Gormans. I think it's one thing to say you're going to do something, and another thing to watch it in practice. And I think the other thing is, too, it's like the idea of her dealing with genocide, like watching a genocide happen. Like, it's a very different thing from, like, planning a genocide. And it's I think she could have the change of heart that, that Cyril did, which is why I thought Cyril was going to be the one to do it. Now Cyril took a unceremonious blaster shot to the side of the head. And it's just like, I think that there's going to be an interesting thing. I think she's got to be the person. I think at this point in the show, with 3 episodes left. I don't think you end her character with that, because we know she's not in any of the other movies, so something has to happen to her. And I think that what has to happen to her is she has to be the one to do that. And the other thing is, the rebellion knows all about her, and they were willing to kill her. So what has to happen within that year that's going to not fix that, but keep her alive? She has the information about the Death Star. And because of what she did on Gorman, she's going to get more information. I think she's going to end up more closely aligned with Krennic. I think we're going to see a lot more Krennic in these last 3 episodes, and which is always great. I love Ben Mendelsohn, and I'm always here for more Ben Mendelsohn. And let's talk about Mon Mothma's speech, in which he looks directly into the camera, directly at us in the year 2025, and is like, please pay attention. Please, please, please pay attention. Please, 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 please pay attention. Where she says that, like, what happened on Gorman was not, was unprovoked genocide. And right now we have this bigger issue where we're dealing with the death of truth at the hands of Emperor Palpatine. And it's one of those things where it's like, I heard that and I was like, there were 2 things that happened this week that were kind of like, oh yeah, this is Star Wars, I forgot. Like, number one, mentioning Emperor Palpatine, seeing them in the, as he's giving this speech on the floor of the Senate, or in the floating pod of the Senate, Senator Cory Mothma is up there giving her speech, and then her immediate defection to Yavin. Like, that's all great. Them saying Palpatine, and the other thing is, they also have the Force make an appearance for the first time in this show, which I was like, oh yeah, right, the Force is a key element of this, and we just haven't heard about it. Like, there's been no mention of the Force. There's no Force-sensitive person on this. It's just no one acknowledges it. And then you get this acknowledgement, not even in name, but you get this brief acknowledgement, and you're like, oh yeah, right, that's a key part of this. And I think that there's a reference to the fact that Bix might also be Force sensitive. Like, in which case that would be really cool. Like, if she survived, what does that do with that character? Like, because that's the thing, is that it's like, I think Bix leaves. I don't think you bring Bix back to kill her. I think I think Bix is gonna, say that's gonna be the tragedy of that story. Because like last week, I think I said Bix has to die, because I'm thinking about the end of Rogue One, that resignation that Cassian has as the Death Star is about to destroy Scarif, and as he's watching the wave, and he's just standing there with Jyn. Like, I was thinking, like, oh, I think that, like, that's gonna have a lot more significance if Bix is dead, because now he's like, all right, now I get to, I don't think they have a concept of heaven in Star Wars, but it's like I get to, be reunited with her in death. Like, it's his freedom. This guy is up my ass. It's his freedom from his life, and that's something I'm like, oh, that's gonna be great. But I think if Bix leaves, I don't think you bring her back a year later and are like, oh well, and now she's gonna, die. And I think, again, I think that this show is going to do like Rogue One did for A New Hope, which is lead directly in. I think that the show is going to end for Cassian on him setting out on the mission to rescue Jyn from whatever Imperial prison she's in. Like, that's what's going to end up happening. But I don't think that we're going to get to, I don't think we're going to, see anything more. I don't think Felicity Jones is going to show up. I think if the show is smart, what they do is they end it on him getting to the prisoner transport, and that's it. That could be pretty cool. The best thing this show could do in that regard is keep Bix alive then, I think. And I think you get a postscript with Bix finding out Cassian died and that the Death Star was destroyed. And one of the things I would like to see in in a new show in this same vein is kind of this spy version of what happened during the movies in the Rebel Alliance, what they were up to in terms of propaganda messaging and trying to counteract what the Empire is doing and other side missions. I don't need to see Luke or Leia or Han Solo or anyone like that. Just flesh this out. How does this work? What are they doing? And what kind of intel operations are they running? Give me that. I think in all, we're going to look back on this season as a worthy follow-up to Season 1. I have a fucking truck right next to me. A worthy follow-up to Season 1, but not quite as good. I think at the end of the day, that's going to be where this show leaves off. It's not quite as good as Season 1, but it's definitely a worthy successor. It's, it's up to that part. And I think the thing is, too, this entire Gorman arc that happens in these 3 episodes is fantastic. Like I said, it goes toe-to-toe with with what happened in when they went to the prison planet in Season 1. I just don't think that this season is going to be held in the same regard, because I think there's no Aldhani. I don't think that what went on in the early aspects of the first half of the season is as good anywhere through as Andor getting recruited, or the mission on Aldhani trying to steal the Imperial payroll. And I think we don't know yet because we haven't seen the last 3 episodes, but it's going to be hard based on where this show is now to beat the Battle of Ferrix as this first shots fired in the first big public shots fired in the rebellion. It's going to be tough to beat that, and I'd be interested to see if they can. And the thing is, too, it's another thing. I saw an article it's breaking Star Wars canon. It's I don't think it is. I think we're not supposed to think of this show as oh, well, where are all these other characters? Here's the thing about this show. At this point, Ahsoka is well within the rebellion. As is Sabine, as is Hera Syndulla. We haven't seen any of these characters. None of these characters have appeared so far. Thrawn would have been present for a good amount of this. I mean, Yularen's in it. Yularen's there, and we know that Thrawn had interactions with what's his name, with Krennic. Thrawn would have had reason to show up. I don't think this show cares. That's not what this show is about. This show is not about because at this point, it would be just for cameo purposes. What are we doing here? The end of this show could potentially set up, Season 2 of Ahsoka, theoretically, but I don't want this show to do that. I don't want to be thinking about Ahsoka right now. Ahsoka could show up in these last 3 episodes. They're going to be on Yavin. There's no reason why Ahsoka wouldn't be there on Yavin. I mean, she wasn't she a part of the rebellion? Oh, no, she was out on her own. She wasn't really a part of the rebellion at that point. But Hera is on Yavin. We know that from Rogue One. We hear the page, General Syndulla, please come to... And that's the reference in Rogue One to Rebels. Oh, shit, so Hera's on Yavin. There's... they could show her in the next few episodes. I feel like we probably would have heard something about, that. And the thing is, too, it's like we know that they like sprinkling the crew of Rebels around these shows. I mean, Ahsoka was basically Rebel Season 5. I mean, when you get to, what's it called? When you, Zeb is apparently in Mandalorian and Grogu, according to what they showed off at Star Wars Celebration, in a key role. Like, okay, that's cool. I mean, we're getting Zeb, that's cool. It's one of those things where it's like, could that be what they're going for here? Could it be that they're, you know, that they bring, like, I think that there's a way to bring in Hera in the next batch of episodes and not have it feel weird. I feel like we would have heard something if Mary Elizabeth Winstead was on set. But I feel like there's a way to do that without it feeling weird. And the thing is, too, the show does stick with existing casting, because Genevieve O'Reilly has been playing Mon Mothma for 20 years now, because she played Mon Mothma in what's it called? In Revenge of the Sith. There's one thing that I will criticize this show for, and it has to do with Mon Mothma. And I think we'll go out on this. Mon Mothma's speech, yes, it gets cut off quick because the Empire doesn't want the message getting out. But there's one person that I would have liked to have heard his name mentioned by Mon Mothma, especially when you take into consideration the deleted scenes from Revenge of the Sith. Some of you may know this, some of you may not, but there's a deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith where it's like it's Bail Organa, it's Mon Mothma, it's Padme, it's a bunch of other people, and they're kind of laying the groundwork for the rebellion. It's this clandestine meeting that's happening in a Senate office, and it's like, look, Palpatine is taking power. We have to be ready to do X, Y, and Z to try and counteract it. Like, we have to advocate for the principles of the Republic. Like, that's what that is. And what I would have liked for Mon Mothma is to be like, yeah, there was a woman who occupied this chamber who stood for these principles, and you know, I want to stand by the vision of the Republic that Padme Amidala had, because that's the thing, is that I think Padme got so shafted by Revenge of the Sith and then her legacy after the fact, where it's like she dies and she's never mentioned again. And she's an integral figure to a lot of the things that happen, and she just doesn't get acknowledged. And I feel like, look, you don't have to bring her in or do anything like that. We don't need a flashback like in Kenobi where, like, oh, we're going to bring her in, we're going to de-age her. Although, I don't think Natalie Portman has aged all that much in 20 years. But either way, I mean, we're not going to put her in makeup to make her look like she did in Revenge of the Sith. Like, that kind of thing, like, just a reference to Padme would have been nice, especially considering the relationship that the two of these characters had. And that's the thing, is that it's like, yes, it would tie it too much to the Skywalkers, maybe, which is something that I like about the show as well, is that it's like, look, there's no Force, nothing like that, and then bringing in Padme would be like, oh shit, right, this is also a Star Wars thing. But also, it's like, it feels the most glaringly overlooked thing. She's a woman who was killed in the early days of the Empire, and the official story is, what was the official story? She was killed by a Jedi, or she died in childbirth, so she didn't get to see what this has become. But it's like, the thing is, it's like, this is a woman who was a hero of the Republic, and would theoretically be a hero of the Empire, because she was a key part in ending the conflicts on in the Clone Wars. I want to see her, I would like to see her get referenced at least once. Like, I'm not saying we need to make the entire speech about her, but that speech where it's like, this is the death of truth, and I get you want to get that in, and it worked out. They shot this 2 years ago, yet right now it's very prescient and very poignant. But at the same time, I want to hear them go, yeah, but this woman fought for the ideals of the Republic. These are not the ideals of the Republic. That would have been a good way to do that, but they just didn't. And we'll wrap up there for today on this very rainy Friday. We'll be back with, we have two things coming up aside from the finale of Andor Season 2. the final episodes. We also have Tales of the Underworld, which we'll be doing probably this weekend. And we also have, what's it called? There was another one. What the fuck was it called? Wayseeker, the Acolyte book. And we'll do all that, in the near future. But until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.